So many database solutions have been developed for Android devices. One of them, which you may know very well, is SQLite database. And SQLite is an open source database type used on Android devices. So SQLite stores the data in a text file in the device's memory. So SQLite database already comes ready-made in the Android operating system. So developers can also use this database in Android apps. That's why it becomes so practical. SQLite is a standard relational database, and that means that the data is stored in rows and columns in tables. So while we develop our application, we can create our own tables, rows, and columns to store whatever data that we want. These structured tables will be called schema. So if you want to use databases in your applications, you're going to need to learn the basic SQL commands. SQL queries are not the subject of this course, so I'm not going to explain it in this lesson in any great detail, but you don't have to worry. It's pretty easy to learn. And you'll pick up a few things as you go on through this course, right? Okay, so far so good, right? It's pretty straightforward, but I do want to give you a couple of warnings. There are some difficulties with using SQLite as a database in your application. So one of them is you are going to need to write a lot of lines of code in SQL database to convert between Java objects and SQL queries. It's pretty tiring and it's a long process, but it's rewarding. Also, you won't be able to see errors in SQL queries in the SQLite database when compiling the application. So, for example, when you type the name of a column that's not in the database in an SQL query, you won't be able to see this error while typing, but when you want to run the application and test that query, you'll understand what's going on when the application collapses. So, that makes transactions, well, difficult. But it's a challenge that we rise to accept. So I mentioned to you earlier about the lines of code that you need to write in order to convert, but also when you start a SQLite database, you're going to need to write very long lines of code, even for a simple one. So it increases the strenuousness and the probability of making mistakes, which is my point. So for this and many other reasons, Google developed the database concept of, get ready for it, the room.